Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed to a Monday edition of the Mark Mosley Show podcast. As we're always broadcasting from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Yeah, it's Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. And yes, to kick off the week and talk all things Orlando Magic, because we had the draft. We had an opening press conference of a new coach. We got free agency. We got my man who's celebrating 10 years covering the Magic. He is with Orlando Magic Daily, Locked On Magic. He is the great Phillip Rossman-Reich. Phillip, how you doing today?
I am doing good. Ready, calm before the storm. We're ready to get this thing going, get this offseason moving.
All right, well, let's start with the first one we learned yesterday where they declined the offer to bring back Jonathan Isaac. And I know it's more complicated than that, but tell us about this story and what's the latest.
Yeah, so the Orlando Magic had when they made Jonathan Isaac's contract a few years ago, they put these outs in there. They're these non-guarantees, and they're all triggered by how many games he played. If he played 52 games the previous season, his contract would become fully guaranteed. So it'll go from $8 million to $14.5 million. Back in February, two sides agreed that they would change that trigger to June 28th. They'd make it a date trigger instead of games played trigger. And it was a sign that the Magic were kind of ready to move on. My understanding was the Magic were pretty much told him, you hit game 52, we're going to stop playing you. So if you want to play the rest of the season, you got to change this date. And both sides had to agree to it. They both did. And so the trigger was changed to June 28th. And that was just a clear sign that the Magic were ready to move on. This is a team that's now in the first apron. Their payroll is significantly more expensive now. And so this was very much a cap cutting move, a cost cutting move. And on top of that, Jonathan has struggled. Like he's, since putting on all that weight in the summer of 2024, he hasn't been able to shoot. He hasn't been able to make shots. He shot less than 20% from three last year. And he hasn't quite been able to kind of rediscover the elite defense that he played in that 2024 season. And he was getting there. I thought there were some really good signs as the season progressed this year, but ultimately the Magic decided we need something different in the spot, and they decided to let him go. Now, there's still a way that he could return to the team. It would not shock me if the Magic do bring him back on a minimum contract, but the Magic have kind of decided we need to reduce that payroll number, that salary number, bring it down. We're going to add some players this offseason anyway. And so it's just avoid the second apron, avoid some of these really strict salary cap restrictions. This was how you had to do it.
He never played. I mean, I was here for the whole career, and I know he had horrible.
He got to 53 games this year. He got injured in game 53, which would have been a disaster if they didn't change that trigger date. But the trigger for his contract. But yeah, he just couldn't stay healthy. Your best ability is availability, and he just couldn't stay healthy.
Look, I told you this during the playoff run. Jamal Cain was playing big minutes. He wasn't a draft pick, and we had all these draft picks on the bench not giving us big minutes. That's the problem.
Yep, that is the problem.
That's the problem. Look, he's a nice guy. I hope he finds another team. Go do your thing. I'm with the Magic. You got to go in another direction. Do you agree with that, Phillip?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's half the stuff you're going to see over the next few days is about like salary cap machinations. And I know everyone's favorite topic is talking about the collective bargaining agreement and the salary cap rules. This was as much about what's happening on the court as it is what's happening on their cap sheet and in the books. And, there's still some things the Magic can do with that salary to potentially open up some more space to add guys. Like if the Magic stretch Jonathan Isaac's cap hit over the next 7 years, suddenly they're far enough under the first apron that they could take on more salary in like a Goga Batadze trade. So there is a little bit of a benefit, but it really does sound like that the Magic were just like, this is $13 million in actual money that we can save. Now they'll spend some of it on some other players, but if they'd kept Jonathan Isaac, that's $13 million more dollars they'd have to spend on whatever they're going to spend anyway. They're going to spend that $13 million anyway, but that's $13 million more dollars they'd have to spend. So there's a very real financial situation here.
Okay, we're recording this Monday morning, and anything could change in the next 5 minutes. But the names I'm seeing is Batadze and Mo Wagner. I know you're checking your phone.
Gotta double check.
I know you do. Those are the two names on the move, right? What are the latest rumors when you think of those two guys?
Yeah, so Bo Wagner's a free agent. That's the first place to start. And Jake Fisher and Mark Stein over at the Stein line reported that Bo Wagner is expected to have multiple suitors and multiple teams that are interested in bringing him in. Now, I don't know if that's for like a real contract or if it's just a minimum contract. Like Bo Wagner returned from a torn ACL last year. He deserves some grace. It usually does take a year to get back all the way back to where you were before your injury. And so I wouldn't even expect him to play like Bo Wagner basketball till Christmas. But he really struggled last year. His shot wasn't as good as it used to be. He was still able to score. He was still able to put the ball in the basket, but it wasn't enough to make up for the defensive deficiencies that everyone kind of recognizes exist with Bo Wagner. And that, again, that Bo's offense is so valuable to this team. Before his injury in 2024, the Magic had one of the highest scoring benches in the league. They've had one of the lowest scoring benches since. There is a reason to retain Mo Wagner, but he is a free agent. It is his decision at the end of the day. And it's not clear whether the Magic will offer him, like, say, hey, come back 1 year, $5 million. We could do that. No big deal. Give you another shot at this. My standing with Mo is he wants long-term security. He's kind of tired of having to be a free agent every summer and having his future be uncertain if you watch the Wagner Brothers documentary, that's where this really started. If you watch the Wagner Brothers documentary, the beginning and ending of that documentary is all about him stressing over his free agency, and tearing his ACL only turned him out into free agency again. Now, last summer, we did the same thing. Last summer, we were like, I don't know if the Magic can bring back Mo Wagner. I don't know if they have the money to do so because they hard capped themselves. They ended up bringing him back on a 1 year, $5 million deal. So maybe something still gets done. I don't think it's done that he's gone. But that's affecting what the Magic do in the trade market. If you look at the Magic's roster, this team has said very publicly, we don't want to trade our top 5 players. Our starting lineup we think is great. We're not going to touch it. I assume they're not going to trade Anthony Black, who's set to sign a big extension and can't really get them much until he signs that extension. That means the next highest paid player they have left on the roster now that they've waived Jonathan Isaac is Goga Bitadze and his $7.6 million contract for the 2027 season. If the Magic are afraid to trade Goga Bitadze because they're about to lose Mo Wagner, all of a sudden they don't have many trade options. And it appears while there is interest around the league, the Clippers are interested, the Hawks are reportedly interested. Jake Fisher and Mark Stein also now reporting the Magic don't want to trade him. The Magic are not listening to offers for Goga Bitadze. And so it sounds very much like the Magic believe they're going to lose Mo Wagner, and they don't want to lose both of their backup centers, especially considering Wendell Carter's injury history. Last year he played almost every game, career high in games. I think he hit 79, 80 games last year. But he averages missing about 15 to 20 games a year. The Magic don't want to lose that security blanket and have to go out and find 2 centers in the free agent market where they don't have any spending power, and they've got to add some shooting as well somehow. So it really does feel like the Magic are going to sit tight with a big chunk of this roster. And if you're not willing to trade Goga Bitadze, there just really aren't any trade options on the table unless they're touching one of the starting 5 guys.
All right, so that's for a Monday, and I appreciate that insight. We will keep you posted over the next couple of days what might happen with the Magic with free agency or trades. Go back to the draft then, Phillip Rossman-Reich. No first-round pick. We get it from Desmond Bane trade last summer. What did they do in the second round?
Yeah, I think the second round is always a bit chaotic, and I tried to tell people that it's a lot of moving and shaking. Like nobody's picking for themselves in the second round. The agents are picking in the second round. Orlando ended up moving down from 46 to take Isaiah Nelson, down from 46 to 51 to take Isaiah Nelson from USF. Isaiah Nelson is a really interesting player. He's very much a matter. He's 6'8.5" without shoes, but has like a 7'2.25" wingspan. So he's very, very long, but he plays bigger than his height. He's not much of a shooter, although he says he's developing his 3-point shot. He's willing to take threes, but it's not his game yet. He's mostly going to be out there grabbing rebounds. He averaged 4 offensive rebounds per game, led the American Athletic Conference in rebounding last year. I believe was the AAC Player of the Year last year as well. Again, like small conference, had a down year. They made the NCAA tournament. He had a good showing against Louisville in their NCAA tournament game. This is a guy that's just going to play hard. And honestly, when you're looking at the 51st pick in the draft, you're not expecting to get very much. You're not expecting to get like a contributor. And again, that's why I think the Magic are a little hesitant to trade both their centers and say, no, Izaiyah Nelson, you are our third center. I don't think they want to do that because he is the 51st pick. He's a rookie. They're trying to win. But they did get a guy that's assurance of, okay, if Mo Wagner is gone, he's our guy. Like, he's our break glass in case of emergency center, or another big player that we could throw in there, cause a little chaos. He'll probably win them a game somewhere just because of his energy, just because he's able to get some offensive rebounds and putbacks and run the floor. He averaged like 3 stocks per game. It was like 1.4 blocks, 1.6 steals, or 1.6 blocks, 1.4 steals, something like that. He's a guy that's very, very active and very, very versatile, very Magic type player. It's just a question of, can that translate to the NBA? And he was the 51st pick. We'll see if he was the 51st pick for a reason.
Okay. Is he a guy then? Summer League's going to start here. It never ends with the NBA, which I love. All right. Is he one of those guys to watch for the Summer League team in Vegas then?
Yeah. Obviously, every time you go to Summer League, the number one guys you're watching are your draft picks and the players that you've taken over the last few years. So seeing him alongside Noah Penda is going to be interesting because they're both sort of not, offensive players are not shooters. Penda developed a little bit of a 3-point shot. We'll see how far along it is. But there's very real possibility of, like, do these players overlap too much? Do our second round picks of the last 2 years overlap too much? We're going to find out how well they play together. We're going to see where Jace Richardson is at. So, yeah, like, energy is something that translates. If you are an energy player, if your calling card is I'm just going to outwork everybody, then that translates no matter what level you're playing at. You'll be able to do things if you play with that energy. And so I do expect Izaiyah Nelson to gobble up a lot of rebounds. There's a lot of misses in Summer League anyway. Yeah. I expect him to gobble up a lot of rebounds, and we'll get a sense of, like, okay, this is what he's capable of doing. And with the way we think Sean Sweeney wants to play on defense, he's going to be able to fit a lot of schemes that I think the Magic want to pursue.
Okay, one more before we get to coach. Paolo Banchero, he is showing up like on Instagram photos. He looks slimmed down. What is the it's like we're TMZ. What is your latest, Phillip?
Yeah, he does look noticeably slimmer. It's a little early for muscle watch for me. Again, like I'm very much a believer, like, you either trust your guys who do their work in the offseason or you don't. And we all kind of sensed something went wrong in Paolo Banchero's summer. Like last summer, something went wrong. He didn't come into camp in the right shape. He struggled throughout most of the season. He just didn't look like the Paolo we all remember. And I said, there are some people who are already calling to trade him. And I was like, no, you either trust him to get things right in the summer or you don't. And I trust him to get things right. And again, we will see what it looks like in October. We got a long way to go before training camp opens in September. But it does seem like Paolo has started to do his work already. We know he wants to be a really great player in this league, not just a good player, a really great player in this league. He's doing, if he puts in the work to do so, we'll see how it all shakes out in the fall. But I trust that Paolo is going to do his work and be ready to go when the time comes.
When I hear the trade stuff, I'm just like, what are you smoking? Did you not? This is my thing. Did you not? When they were in Detroit, you were there. You were there. When he gets on fire like it's NBA Jam, unlock that for a full season. I am so excited for his future. What about you, Phillip?
Yeah, like, look, it is put up or shut up time. There needs to be a little pressure. Like, it's trade ideas are probably premature. The criticisms of Paolo are probably a little too harsh right now. Like, people want to pile on him, and I'm just like, look, he's 23. Like, he's still young. He's allowed to make some mistakes, and he's allowed to figure some things out. But the reality is this. The Magic hired a new coach. The pressure, like Sean, we'll talk about Sweeney here in a minute, I'm sure, but Sweeney's got the normal pressure a coach has. The Magic did the easy part. It's easy to change a coach. It's a lot harder to change the players. And so now that the coach has changed, if the players don't figure out how to make it work, then it's on the players. And it's like, oh, the problem wasn't the coach. The problem is the players. And so this, regardless of what the Magic end up doing this summer, and it does look like it's going to be a relatively quiet summer for the Magic, the pressure is on the players to deliver. And if they don't, the Magic are going to talk and very seriously think about major changes, not just little changes on the edges. We're talking, everyone already can see a Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black debate is coming. Everyone's already trying to say, like, oh, can Paolo and Franz play together? And there's a lot of teams out there trying to figure out how to get Franz off the Magic and on their team because Franz is really, really good. Paolo is your star. He's the guy. He's a heavy usage, can score 45 for you. but he's got to do that every night. He's got to be that level every night. And he wasn't that last year. And that's a big reason why the Magic failed to meet their expectations. So the pressure is definitely on Paolo to deliver what he did before his injury in 2025 and for most of the 2025 season.
Okay, you look at what the Knicks just did. They got rid of Thibodeau, and Thibodeau got them deep in the playoffs every single year. But they went with a new coach. Is that, when you look at Sweeney, and we'll get this press conference here as the next question, but my question for you is the point of this new coaching staff to get this team ready and healthy to make a deep playoff run? Isn't that the number one goal for next year?
I mean, obviously making a deep playoff run is the goal. The goal is to win a championship. Like let's not pretend otherwise. Like, is this a championship level team? Probably not, but their payroll says that they should be. So, like, the goal is to win a championship. I don't want to say that the Sweeney hire or the Mosley firing was the same as Thibodeau. That Knicks team, everyone could say they're good enough, but something their coach is doing is holding them back. Their coach just isn't playing the long game. He thinks every game is life or death, and that can be a good thing.
Yeah.
But Thibodeau thinks every game is life or death, and it's like, no, we're running a marathon. We can't be cramping a mile from the finish line. And that's really what they wanted Mike Brown to do. And Mike Brown, for all the hand-wringing that happened during the season, he managed the season beautifully. He found the right balance to get them to the finish line. I think the Magic's decision with Jamal Mosley is more about, we need to see this team in a new context. What we're doing, we've hit our ceiling with it.
Yes.
Where we could get to game 7. That's great. But we can't break through. And our offense still stinks. We had this embarrassing loss in game 6 with a chance to advance. We've got to figure out how to rearrange the pieces so that we can so that we can unlock a different picture. We can unlock something different. And I think that's the main goal with Sean Sweeney is, okay, we have this foundation. We have this really good defensive foundation. Can you rearrange the picture so that it looks better and that it gets us further? And then from there, we can maybe tinker with the roster a little bit more. But to me, what it's really about is they need to see this team with a new context. 5 years with the same coach is a long time. Mm-hmm. The only coach that last history was Stan Van Gundy in one tenure, in one stint. 5 years is a long time. And it just felt like, especially last year, Jamal Mosley's message wasn't resonating as deeply as it had in previous seasons. You could look at the number of 30-point losses, look at the number of just, frankly, embarrassing losses that happened. It was clear they needed a change, and they just needed a new voice in that locker room, and we'll see if this voice works.
Okay, then. You were there at the press conference. I know we have all this World Cup stuff going on, so it kind of felt like it got lost in the shuffle. And also, remember, you forget this, they made the announcement, but then he's in the NBA Finals, so then you had to wait. It's very weird, but I get it. I understand. He had to do his thing. How did you feel like he handled the press? Like, did he win the press conference? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't want to say necessarily he won the press conference, because it didn't feel like this rah moment, to that some extent. And I think that just speaks to the state of the franchise in general. There is a lot of mistrust in Jeff Weltman at the moment. And honestly, like, it's not so much, I don't think this was a press conference that Sean Sweeney could, I think he did his job. I think he did what he needed to do, say what he needed to say, presented himself the way he needed to present himself. But I think this was more about, do people believe that Jeff Weltman is the right guy in charge anymore? And there's a lot of frustration with Jeff Weltman, and a lot of it is justified. This team just isn't where it needs to be. And when I tell people they can't do much in the offseason, they're like, well, that's Jeff Weltman's fault. And I was like, it's just kind of the situation you're in. They're like, if you do things moderately successful, this is where you find yourself. And now you have to make some tougher decisions. This franchise is in a really precarious spot. Like I think I've said this, said this several times. The Magic are going to have to win back the fans. Like, I think they're fans will still show up, but no one will believe until they make them believe. Game 6, is just one game. It was a really bad game though. And it scarred a lot of people. And to come back, that was the last taste that Magic fans had of their team in their building. It's not like 2024 where they lose a game 7 on the road, but they won game 6. And that was a party. And you could have ended the season there, and the Magic season could have been done, and everyone would have been thrilled. They'd be like, we did it. This season was a huge success. Like even game 4 in Boston against Boston, Magic were competitive. To lose game 6 that way, fans are hesitant. I really that fans are like, make us believe again. We're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt anymore. And that's kind of where this fan base is at. Like, I think Sean Sweeney presented himself as this very no nonsense, very particular, very detailed. It frankly felt like he was reading off a prompter. Like he was looking down at his notes. He was very specific and measured with what he was trying to say. And I think that's the way he approaches coaching is I'm going to be very particular, very detailed, and it's not going to be a lot of deviation. I don't think we're getting a lot of personality out of him, but he's very, very focused and very, very intense. And to some degree, I think the Magic do need that, but we'll see how it meshes. We just don't know. And I just don't think, even though I think Jeff Weltman has been very successful with his coaching hires, Steve Clifford and Jamal Mosley were the absolute right coaches. Sean Sweeney's got to prove that Jeff Weltman was right again. And then this team has to prove that they can be the team everyone thinks they can be.
It's a good point. You bring up Clifford. So this is his third coach he's hired. It's
Yes.
like, how many coaches do you get to hire after? That's the question, right?
A little bit, but honestly, like, it's not like this is the first season where the Magic were just an abject failure. Like, we all excused the injuries in the 2025 season. They played a really good Boston team. They fought them pretty hard. Not having Jalen Suggs, that roster just wasn't good enough to win. This was the first season where it's just like, you failed to meet any of our expectations. You didn't get the 4 seed. You didn't win a playoff series. You had game 6 won on your home court and you blew it. And it's just like, okay, now we're in a little bit of a crisis. And honestly, like, Jeff Weltman's been here for 10 years. He just signed a new extension, which was the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't perform this year, Jeff Weltman's on the chopping block. Like this hire, the Sean Sweeney hire, that's his last coach. If Sean Sweeney does not deliver a second round series, does not deliver playoff success, not only is the roster going to flip over, it's not going to be Jeff Weltman flipping over the roster. Like, he's got to rescue himself a little bit. And he's very, very conservative, very, very careful with his decision-making, with the roster moves that he makes. You know, this team doesn't control its own draft until 2030. So they got to be committed to winning until 2030. It's not like there's nothing on the roster. It's not like they're a bad team. They're a playoff team. They should be in the playoffs every year now, but they don't want to just be in the playoffs every year. They want to win. And that's going to be the challenge moving forward for everybody in the organization, is to win. And if they can't win this year, it wouldn't shock me if Jeff is gone.
All right. You know what game I'm circling? Even though it's June 29th, you might not like this. When's Miami coming to town with Giannis and Bam Adebayo?
But we got him in the preseason.
Oh, no.
I don't think anyone's going to play in that game, but we got him in the preseason.
That's going to be like a March Madness. And those have been like that in years past. And the Heat fans are going to be showing up again. But I don't know if Giannis can play healthy. I don't know.
But like, I would say this, like, Giannis has got to get to the end of the season. And the last 3 seasons, he has had soft tissue injuries that have kept him from playing. If you want to know why the Magic didn't go for him, A, they need shooting more than they need a guy like Giannis. But B, they don't want a guy on the wrong side of 30 with a history of soft tissue injuries. And look, I think he would have played last year if Milwaukee were in the playoff hunt. So I don't think that should be held against him. But look, Miami's still got work to do. Yes. That team is not a complete team yet.
No.
And if you look at the Eastern Conference is going to be exactly like it was last year. Orlando finished a game behind Toronto and Atlanta for 5th. They would have still been 7th if they won that game in Boston. But it's not like Orlando was an 8 seed that was so far behind everybody that they couldn't catch up. Like, it's going to be tight. And look, the Magic as an 8 seed, we're up 3-1 on Detroit, up 24 in the second half in game 6 with a chance to advance. That's the Eastern Conference now. Injuries can knock you off kilter, can knock you off course, but you could win very big in the Eastern Conference still. So the Miami being added to the mix, Indiana being added to the mix, 2 teams that made the playoffs last year are going to be out. You know, who will it be? You know, Toronto might add Kawhi Leonard. There's going to be a team that believes they should be in the playoffs that does not make the playoffs next year. And the Magic certainly hope it's not them. They'll have a lot to say about it, but they hope it's not them.
You know what's sick and twisted? I'll end with this is so the Magic had that horrible collapse at home. We were both there. And every Magic fan saw it. And you're like, this is awful. It wasn't even the worst collapse of the playoffs. Like the Spurs now own that for game 4 in the finals. Like even the Cavaliers game 1 against the Knicks.
Watching that game and game 4 against the Knicks, like I was texting my buddies. I was like, this feels exactly like game 6. Like you could see it happen. And so like, look, it's a young team thing for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it playoffs, when you find a weakness in the playoffs, the good teams don't let you get up. And that's what the Magic still struggle to do.
Okay. So, all right. With your coverage moving forward, we're looking at free agency, summer league. How can we follow you, buddy?
Yeah. Best place to follow my work is at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. That's where you can find my written work. I am still 5 days a week until the end of summer league. We'll find stuff to talk about on Locked On Magic. You find that wherever you download podcasts. You can find it on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. We'll have free agency covered. My episode on Tuesday, we're going to talk specific names that the Magic could target in free agency with what little resources they have. They do not have a lot of resources. Do not expect a busy, fun summer. It's going to be a quiet summer where the Magic were considered winners the last 2 summers. They'll probably be considered losers this summer. But we'll see. We'll see what they end up shaking. Honestly, people probably aren't even thinking about the Magic and their offseason. But we're covering the offseason in full. We'll see what happens, what shakes out Tuesday. I'm not expecting anything for a little while because I think the Magic have to wait for all the money to run out. But we'll see what happens with the Magic, and we'll learn a lot more about this roster here in the next week.
I love how you word that. That's everyone. I gotta wait till the money runs out. Then I gotta make some moves.
Yep. No. That's literally what it's going to be like. Like the John Collins rumor that's out there is like the 4 teams are Minnesota, Orlando, Philadelphia, San Antonio. Philadelphia and San Antonio are the only 2 teams of that 4 with money, and they want to sign other people. And so John Collins is like the consolation prize. The Magic and the Wolves can only offer him the minimum. Like it's just literally like we can't give you much. We don't have much to offer, but if you want to come play here, come play here.
Phillip, thanks for your help. Have a great day and have a nice 4th of July with your family.
Absolutely. Have a good one, Mark.